So it's going to be very interesting. I mean, we already know what's happening here, but it's going to be interesting to see how they approach this, with that. So then, now this is the part that I had put in one of my messages. I think I put it in my tweet too on Twitter and Instagram. But what we thought was going to happen, what we were originally told this morning was going to happen, was that they were going to do jury selection, and that opening statements would be done tomorrow morning, because of the fact they had 59 jurors, and that was a pretty large number to get through. And they just kind of assumed that there's no way we'll get through that and then get into opening statements. Well, what had happened was that they actually did get through all of that. And when the judge, he's like, let's get this over with. We already know you're guilty. I'm saying that. The judge didn't say that. But the way he's operating is kind of like, let's get this over with. So he literally just went straight into, after he gave the jurors, their instructions and rules, et cetera, he just went straight into, all right, you guys ready for your opening statements? And so they started with the opening statements from the government. And Attorney Carroll, she basically was saying, now this was interesting, because I can't remember if I've heard this and forgot or never heard this before, but in her opening statement, one of the points that she covered was saying that when his life was taken, I'm on YouTube, I got to watch the words. When Andre's life was taken, she stated that Tim never called Michelle Griggs, Andre's mom, for those of you who don't know. She said he didn't call her. He didn't text her. He didn't email her. He said nothing to her after Andre passed away, and did not say anything to her until the day of the funeral, where he then told her, sorry for your loss, and walked away. Now, I feel like I want to check comments after this. Let me take a little break and let y'all marinate on that. So again, Tim, when Andre passed away, and I'm saying that kindly, you know what happened. But when Andre passed away, Tim never said anything to Michelle Griggs, Andre's mom. Never texted her, never called her, never said y'all okay, y'all need help with the planning, nothing. Not until the day of the funeral did he even say a word to her, and that was, I'm sorry for your loss. As if something you say to a coworker whose family member you ain't never met, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong, or if you feel like I'm wrong. And this is going to really even be deeper when I get to some other pieces of my notes a little further in. Never contacted Michelle Griggs to say anything when Andre died. And then, Travell Hill. So this is, we're in the opening statements of the government attorney Carroll. And so she talked about that, but she also mentioned that Travell Anthony Hill will be testifying. And so that's going to be interesting. So what she laid out in her opening statement, and it was the way she put it, the way she mapped it out was beautiful. They are on it. The government is on it. She's a really good attorney. So she said that this whole plot of James Timothy Norman was a 5-step plan of his that only he was aware of. And he was very methodical in the way that, although he had all these multiple people involved, and now we know it was up to 6 people that we know of, 6 people that were involved in this plot, none of the 6 knew the entire plan. They only knew, each one of them only knew the role or their job in the plan. Tim was the only one that knew, when I put this piece with this piece and what you do with what you do and what you do, puts my whole plan together. So with him trying to plead innocent, like he didn't know what happened, and basically he's trying to say from his attorney's opening argument that Travell did this all on his own, like made this up in his head and did it on his own. Craziness. Thank you for the, it disappeared. Someone just gave me a $10 super chat. Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. So she said it was a 5-step plan masterminded by Tim himself. Phase 1, and we know these, but I'm laying it out how she did. Phase one was for him to get the life insurance policies. So we know that he worked with Wael Yagnam to get those policies. Check. Once he got that done, his next plan was to find Andre. So in order to find Andre, he was connecting with Terica, did what he needed to do with her in his mind, and then check. Terica was able to make contact with Andre, was able to solidify where he was. His next step was to send Travell Anthony Hill to the location where Terica told him Andre was going to be. Check. The next was, after Andre's life was unfortunately taken, the next step was for him to pay the people. And so he paid Terica, we know, $10,000, and then she deposited it in a bank, multiple banks. And then he sent the $5,000 through Kara, was it? I forget. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but he sent it through one of his friends to pay Travell, the same person who negotiated how much, because Travell wanted more money at first than the $5,000. They whittled him down to the $5,000, and because he's basically a crackhead, they were able to only give him $5,000 for this. And so then she said, step 5 was check on that. And then she said step 5 was for James Timothy Norman to collect the life insurance money. As we know, those of us who've been following this for a long time, that part never happened. Thank God. Thank God. So I mentioned the part she said that Tim told no other person the entire story, the entire plan. He was the only one that knew it. So he can't claim that these people orchestrated this and he somehow got, roped in, or they lying on him or whatever. What else do I have? Oh, now this was interesting. She was talking about how Tim actually came. Okay, so we all know that, or some of us, those of us who've been following, know that Tim had traveled from California to St. Louis, specifically like overnight, basically, for the taking of Andre's life to occur and to orchestrate that and to play the role. So what they were saying, his attorney was actually saying, well, Tim normally always did that. Like Tim came here very often to basically empty out the safes and deposit the money. So I'm like, he's flying all the way from California to come here to empty safes and take the money to the bank. Like, I don't know. That's his attorney's claim. So what the government was saying was that Tim had contacted Terica Ellis an hour after arriving at the Chase Park Hotel. Tim then texted her to come over, and she came over and they had sex. Then once they had sex, Tim then brought up to Andre. So we heard about, not the Andre, but brought up Andre, and basically that he was looking for his nephew. The story that they're saying he presented to Terica is that the whole thing about the break-in, and basically he's looking for him to have him hopefully get the stuff. Now, this is Tim's version. Hopefully find the stuff that he thinks that Andre had taken from the house, and basically make him answer to it, not to take his life. This is Terica's thinking, like, oh, he's just trying to get him to be able to make him answer to, what's happening, because Miss Robbie was also looking for him. The thing that was interesting to me, and I don't think I've heard anyone just flat out call her this, and it was interesting to hear the government call Terica an exotic dancer and a prostitute. They literally said she was a known prostitute. So they said she danced and had sex for money. So that was repeated by Tim's attorney. So it was her career. I mean, none of us are surprised, but for me, it was kind of surprising to hear them actually say that. So then we have, this was interesting too. And again, this is a part I can't remember if I just forgot or I never knew this, but they're saying when Terica was texting Andre, so those text messages that we've seen, that was Tim telling her exactly what to say to Andre. That wasn't coming fresh out of her mind. That was Tim literally laid up next to her at the Chase Park Hotel, within minutes, having her texting Andre to say all of these things. And then Tim immediately, after the information was given by Andre to Terica, Tim immediately called Tre'vell Anthony Hill. They have all this on record, like phone records, minute by minute. It's like within a minute, he's now calling. It's crazy, y'all. It's crazy. So anyway, let's see how much I got left. Woo, y'all, this a lot still. Okay, I'm gonna give y'all another page, and then I'm gonna look at some comments, and then we'll see how I feel after that. So let's see, where would I leave off? Okay, we talked about him telling her to move, to drive away. Oh, now this was the other part that was very interesting to me. So we all know, I keep saying we all, but when I say that, I mean those of us who know. The majority of us know that Tim was not able to collect the life insurance policy. And what we had heard or read was that it was because he was unable to provide the documents, the autopsy, the death certificate, things like that, things that, you know, Andre's mom had basically. And so Tim ended up getting an attorney trying to fight it. He was basically saying like, y'all got my money and y'all won't give it to me, to the insurance company. So what was disclosed today is that the insurance company actually wasn't giving Tim the money because he had not been cleared as a suspect. So even the life insurance company knew that there was something up with this. And that is why they wouldn't give him the money. Well, one of the reasons as well, that they wouldn't give him the money. The other thing that was interesting, and this was Tim's attorney's angle, trying to disprove the whole Tim got the insurance policy because he was broke and, you know, all of these things. He pointed out that Miss Robbie actually had a life insurance policy on Andre as well. And so Miss Robbie had a life insurance policy on him, and Michelle Griggs had a $50,000 life insurance policy on him, as well as her other children, which parents should do. Like, there's nothing wrong with that at all. It's honestly how some people build wealth. That's a whole nother conversation for another channel I'll create in the future, where we talk about these sort of wealth building things, generational wealth. But anyway, so it was brought to that was brought out. And I found that very interesting. I'm like, wow. So this was known on so many levels. So many people saw what was wrong with this. Okay. So then we jump to, I don't know if I want to, I'm gonna jump to the testimony because my next notes are about Tim's attorney's opening statements. And to be honest, well, I'll just give a quick overview. It was a bunch of tricks and stunts and him trying to really recreate the narrative. And I just spoke about him trying to make Tim out to be this model uncle, mentor. You know, Tim wanted to pull Andre back to St. Louis so that he could help him out. And he got him an apartment a couple doors down from him. This stuff is true, though. Tim got him an apartment a couple doors down from him. Tim had given him access to his cars. Tim was giving him an allowance. Tim got him a part-time job at Sweetie Pies. And Tim got him into Nelly's music school here, which is supposed to be like a big prestigious situation, a big deal. So Tim's attorney was trying to use that to prove that Tim was actually cared about Andre and wanted to see the best for him. And then on the other side of it, Tim's attorney was trying to paint Andre out to be this wayward child or wayward young man who was drawn to the streets. And so he was saying that the reason Tim got the life insurance policy on Andre was because Andre was into, and I forget the name, it was some name of rap, genre rap I had never heard of before, that he said that Andre was drawn to. And this genre of rap was about guns and gangs and this and that. And so Tim, again, y'all, I feel like y'all looking at me crazy like that ain't true, because I'm like, that ain't true, as I'm watching his attorney try to spin the narrative. But this is what his attorney was saying. But he tried to say that Tim got the life insurance on Andre because he was into this lifestyle, and he was pretty sure that because of this lifestyle, there was a good chance he might not make it, far in life, as far as living, because of his rapping and the lifestyle that he was trying to live. So that's kind of the bulk of his opening statements. What I will say is I kind of got a feeling that the judge is gonna be irritated with Tim's attorney because of the fact that he's trying to pull a lot of tricks and stunts and bamboozle and narrative spins and smoke and mirrors and all of that. He got called out a couple times by the judge, who was saying, you're not doing an opening statement. Now you're basically trying the case right now. And he had to keep correcting him, and they did a couple sidebars and all of that. So that was the bulk on that. Then we jumped to, so I'm going to jump ahead. I got like 3 pages of note that I'm skipping over, and we'll get that information out at some point. But I want to jump to Michelle Griggs' testimony.
Hey, popping like I'm supposed to. Watch out for the people that ain't close to. Speak a little something you could toast to. I ain't tryna hear about what you won't do. Moving like I'm into. Hit the ground running like the rent do. Speak a little something that you're into. I ain't tryna hear about what you been through. Like hold up, say what's the hold up. I got the pack, who got the roll up? I'm tryna pull up. It seem like every time I show up, it gotta go up. See the drip, they see the glow up. Oh, now they know us. See, it's funny how my pockets out of shape, but I fit for the flex. Clear the phone call, hit my chick with a text. Parlay through the bird with my drip from the jets. Save a couple hundred by your